In this video, I'm going to be talking about the pros and cons of a 529 plan and how it works. For those of you tuning into my content for the first time, my name is Pascal and I work with the firm Prepaid Solutions, and we essentially help people take what normally would be a 40 to 45 year goal and help change it to a 20 to 25 year goal by using simple private banking strategies. If you want to learn more about that, I'll leave a video at the end where you could watch about private banking in detail. But the topic of it today is going to be about a 529 plan. You may have been thinking about setting some sort of educational fund for your kids' future, for college or some sort of education that they're going to be pursuing in the future. And nowadays, more than ever, it's more important than ever to create some sort of financial plan to prepare you for the things like rising tuition costs and the rising things of costs and goods. So what exactly is a 529 plan? A 529 plan is a state-sponsored, tax-advantaged education savings plan that allows you to use money in a deferred basis, so you could use it for qualified educational expenses, books, room and board, and things of that sort that are related to education. And it gives you advantages in terms of using that money to pay for the cost of school and education. These plans used to be more linear and used to only be for the benefit of college, but nowadays you actually could use 529 plans from K to 12, even trade schools, and also college tuition too as well. So nowadays in 2022, it's more inclusive into what it can incorporate and what it can be used for. Many people might not know this, but 529 is actually a tax code. And in that tax code, it defines all the things that a 529 plan can be used for in order to take advantage of some of the different types of tax benefits of that plan. Not all schools take certain 529 plans, but you could always look up what schools allow you to use those 529 plans to give you the tax advantage benefits that they have to offer. Now, let's dive into the benefits of the 529 plan. Unlike things like 401ks, IRAs, and HSAs, 529 plans don't really have an annual limit in terms of what you can contribute to the plan, or at least the annual limit is extremely high. When you look at things like Roth accounts only let you contribute to about $6,000 a year into a Roth account. Even 401ks, there's a limit of around like $20,000, and it's adjusted every year for how much you could actually contribute to a 401k. But when it comes to a 529 plan, there really isn't any annual contribution limit. The only limit is that the account balance can't be more than $500,000. And that's basically where it basically caps out and you can't put any more money in. But for the most part, there's no real limit when it comes to 529 plans. And there's really two main ways you can contribute to a 529 plan. There's a prepaid tuition plan, and then there's a savings plan. With the prepaid tuition plan, basically what you're doing is you're buying school credits for a given school that you know that your kid is going to go to. So let's say you know your kid is going to go to some sort of private school in high school, for some sort of example like that. What you're going to do is you're going to buy these prepaid credits at a discounted amount now before your kid goes to the high school, because you know that they're going to go to the high school. So now you're taking advantage of basically the amount that the school costs now, versus if you wait longer, you're gonna have to adjust that for inflation and it's gonna cost a lot more. So you're just taking advantage of a discounted amount now. This is not an investment account you're buying, you're just locking in the current prices when it comes to school education. So this is not something you want to do if you're not really certain that your kid is going to go to a said school. And for the most part, when you get those credits aren't really transferable to another school. You're kind of locked into just that specific school that you picked. Also, there's the education savings plan that you could use as an alternative. This is when you're taking investment risk with your money. You're buying investment funds. Some of the investment funds might include index funds, mutual funds, bond funds, and a variety of different funds that you could put your money in and invest in. One thing you want to make sure that you look at before you invest to any said fund is you want to look at things like their historical performance and things like the standard deviation, which is going to tell you the risk profile of your investment that you're investing in. And basically what a standard deviation tells you is you could just compare it to the overall stock market. A stock or fund that has a higher standard deviation than the overall stock market is more risky or more volatile than the stock market. A standard deviation with less than the overall stock market means that it's less volatile and probably less risky too as well. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind, because if you don't want your portfolio to fluctuate too much, you want to make sure you have an appropriate risk profile that you're putting your money in order to use your investment funds the way you want to use them. So you want to look at a combination of both risk and historical performance and get a good dichotomy of both of those. A longer time span that you have to invest into a said fund for your kid's college or your kid's education, the more risk you could generally take in that period of time. The shorter the time horizon, the less risk you're going to want to take. So you might want to say, if you have 5 years before your kid goes to a said high school or college, maybe you want to have a fund that doesn't have such a high standard deviation. But if you have a longer time horizon, you could take a little bit more risk and then adjust a little bit along the way when it gets closer to that time horizon when your kid is about to go to a certain said school. And another benefit when it comes to the 529 is its tax deferral. So basically what you're doing is you're taking after-tax dollars and you're putting it into this plan, and essentially your money is going to grow tax-free and you're not going to get taxed on dividends or income. So all that money is going to be growing tax-free for you. And eventually when you use it for qualified educational expenses, things like food for the school, room and board, education costs, and even student loans, you could use that money from your 529 plan to take care of those qualified expenses tax-free. So you get to accumulate your money tax-free and get to use it tax-free if you use it for certain set educational expenses. This route of investing your money in a 529 plan is probably the most flexible way to use a 529 plan, because you could transfer those funds to basically almost any school that you want. And if you take advantage of using a 529 plan in your said state, a lot of your states might actually give you state tax deductions. So you could also take advantage of the state tax deductions and not pay state taxes on that money, and also use that money for qualified educational expenses. And if you happen to have maybe other relatives that you want to use those plans for, you actually can switch beneficiaries, considering that they're still relatives of yours, and actually use that in the benefit of another person if you decide to choose so and you decide to switch beneficiaries for that account. So those are some of the pros on it. But some of the main cons, which is some of the reasons why I wouldn't necessarily put my money in a 529 plan, would be because it's pretty restricted when it comes to your money. You only can really use it for educational purposes, school purposes. Yes, you can now use it for things like trade school, different types of film school, and even college. But at the same time, there's so many different ways to make money in 2022. You really don't know what your kid is going to end up doing. Maybe they decide to do things like content creation, or maybe they decide to start a business online. Maybe they decide to do something that isn't necessarily the traditional route. And now you have a 529 plan that's very restrictive and can only be used for educational expenses and things like that. So if your kid happens to succeed in another route, then you kind of have to end up paying taxes and also penalty fees when it comes to putting your money in a 529 plan. And rather than your kid going to college, you might have to go back to college to end up using that money in the appropriate way. Just kidding, but just to kind of give you that note in terms of the downside of a 529 plan is that if it's not used for educational expenses, you might have to end up paying massive taxes and penalty fees on it. So it might not be the safest alternative in terms of being able to prepare for the future. Some other alternatives is you could use regular taxable brokerage accounts, which in some of my videos I talk about the different types of tax benefits of using a brokerage account. So a lot of people say that taxable brokerage account has a lot of tax liability associated with it, but that's not necessarily true. And you could watch some of my videos, I'll link them at the end if you want to learn more about the tax benefits when it comes to brokerage accounts. And also you could use cash value life insurance. I talk a lot about that in my channel and how it can basically enhance the performance of your investments. And the benefit is you're not taking market risk to grow your money, and you could use it tax-free, you could access it tax-free. And also, if you end up passing away, you could pass down a tax-free death benefit to your heirs. But it has to be used in a certain way in order to maximize the cash accumulation. And I'll also link another video at the end that you could watch in detail on how you could use cash value life insurance as an asset rather than an expense, like the way most people. And then lastly, you have Roth accounts. Roth accounts do restrict you to only withdrawing up to basis if you want to use it for different types of expenses. If you don't want to pay a penalty fee, anything above the basis, you're going to have to pay penalty fees on. But at the same time, it gives you a little bit more flexibility than, say, a 529 plan, because it only restricts you to using it for educational purposes. And if it's not used for educational purposes, like I said, you're gonna have to pay penalty fees and taxes. So in all, it's not really the most flexible plan. It does have some advantages, but there's many other alternatives that you can put your money in without having to lock it up or put it in jail, and be able to restrict yourself only to one way to prepare for your kids' college. There's many other alternatives, and like those are just some of the ones that I mentioned, and there's plenty of others. So hope you found some value out of this video. I do content videos like this every single week. So if you enjoy content about different types of financial concepts and financial content, make sure you follow this channel and subscribe to this channel. Like I said, I'll link these videos at the end that you could watch for more information on how those different types of accounts work. But anyways, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time.